Hello students, welcome to delving back into fraction multiplication. In the first episode of this video, we saw that how a whole number can be multiplied to the fraction, what does it actually mean with the visual thinking, and also why we follow the step of multiplying the numerator and just keeping the denominator as it is. I hope you understood well on why you are doing the steps and what does it actually mean. I left you all with an interesting question of when you multiply two whole numbers, you know what happens? And what happens when you multiply a whole number and a fraction? Did you find anything? I hope yes. As you all could see, when you multiply two whole numbers, the answer is always bigger than the two natural numbers, which is 4 and 2. The product is always greater than the two numbers which is multiplied or equal. In case of 4 times 1, it will be equal. However, when you multiply a whole number with a fraction, which is 4 times half or 4 times 3 by 5 or anything, can you notice that the product is actually lesser than one of those numbers? Like for example, if it is 4 times half, the answer is 2, which is less than 4. So basically the product of multiplying two numbers need not be always bigger, and especially in the case of fractions, it can be lesser. So that's good finding, isn't it? So in this video, we are going to see another interesting and very important fraction multiplication. Can you make any guess? Yes, it is multiplying two fractions. Isn't it confusing of why am I doing something that you already know? So how do you know what you will get when you multiply two fractions? I can hear you all. Yes. You multiply the numerator. Yes, 1 times 1 is 1. And you multiply the denominator. 3 times 2 is 6. But you know what? One of my students had asked, Ma'am, why is it so that we are doing this only to multiplication but not for addition? For example, 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3. Why can't I just add? Like 1 plus 1 is 2 and 2 plus 3 is 5. Why can't I just add? Why is it happening only for multiplication? And that's exactly what we are going to learn today. So take a paper and a pencil and please do follow what we are discussing in the class session now. And also note it down in your paper and then read it aloud or explain it to your friend once you are clear. So now let's start this. So we are going to take this example of 1 by 2 times 1 by 3 and let's do the visual thinking first. So 1 by 3 would actually mean that you have one whole which is divided into three equal parts and 1 by 3 basically means 1 out of the 3. Now that is clear, and if you want to find half of 3, we should try to recollect what happens when I say 1 times 1 by 3. So you would say, yeah ma'am, this is just 1 times 1 by 3, that's what we have represented. So how do you represent maybe 2 times 1 by 3? I think you had already understood that you have another one, this is 1 by 3 and you have another 1 by 3. So because you are adding it 2 times and then therefore you kind of tell there are two equal parts and the denominator remains the same because the number of equal parts in one whole is 3 and this is 2. So 2 by 3. And if I ask you further, what does 4 times 1 by 3 mean? So this would mean that you have 4 of these holes and in each of this you are just choosing 1 by 3, 1 by 3 and 1 by 3. So how many holes are there? So you would say that in this I have 4 parts, but in one hole I have only 3 parts, right? So 1, 2, 3, but I want to tell the fourth one also. So I would have another one and then choose one. So then this is 4 by 3s and if you write in the mixed fraction, this is one whole and then this is 1 by 3. Yes, this is clear. Now with this idea, whenever you add, you are adding it 2 times, 4 times or just 1 time. So this is clear. But how do you represent half time is what our actual problem is, isn't it? How do you represent half of 1 by 3? So that's very simple to understand. So you have 1 by 3 and how do you half this part? Oh yeah, so you would just check how do you draw this half line here, right? So this is half of 1 by 3. I want to choose only this half. So in this case, how do you actually write with respect to the entire whole? So be with me carefully now. So if this is half of 1 by 3, then I need to represent somehow that this half is equally done for all the other parts as well. Meaning, I have to do the same half for everything, like the three parts, so that I know all the parts are equal. Right, so that would mean that I have to actually make this into six equal parts, right? So this was earlier this 1 by 3, the whole red color that we had is 1 by 3, and half of that is this part which I am doing it in blue. But since this is the equal part that I have to represent in the whole, instead of doing the half only for the selected part, I'll do half for everything. So which means 3 times 2 is 6. There are 3 equal parts earlier, and now each part I'm multiplying by 2 because you are dividing by 2 because you are taking into 2 equal parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. So there are now 6 equal parts as you could see. And how many have this blue? Just one. So then this part of diagram can be written as 1 out of the 6. So do follow the steps what we are discussing, and this should be able to help you understand. So how do we do it numerically? So when you say 1 by 3 and half of it, so you make 6 equal parts because the denominator should be 2. So multiplied by half. So instead of doing half of just 1 by 3, you are dividing the all the other equal parts into 2, and therefore you get 3 times 2 is 6. That's why you are having multiplying the denominators. Why? Because you are just doing the denominator for just 1 by 3, but you want to represent that with respect to the whole. Therefore, you are multiplying all the three parts by 2. So 3 times 2. And out of this, you are just selecting only 1. So 1 times 1 is 1 by 6. So this is how the multiplication of two fractions actually mean in visual and in the fraction numbers. Keep watching it to understand how we do the same thing for fraction multiplication without a unit fraction. For example, how do you do 1 by 2 times 2 by 3? Or all both the fractions be non-unit fractions like 3 by 2 times 2 by 3. Stay tuned for watch that episode as well. Thank you.